Hello, and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble, and today we're going to be looking at the red cards for Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths. The new Magic set coming out pretty damn soon, in a day or two, depending on when you're watching it. It's probably already out. It's probably already there. And you're like, wow, this guy was right about everything. Nailed it. 100% profit right here. Anywho. Also, it's a little hot. It's just me. I'm sorry I have to make this reference at least one time because... Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to be taking a look at things from the standard and from the limited point of view. I don't really dabble too much in other play modes, such as like, Commander or Modern or Pioneer. Don't really mess with that too much. So, standard and limited, that's what I know. Without further ado, I'm going to attempt to, here we go, and the first one we have for red, Blazing Volley. We're starting off blazing. For 1 red, you get a sorcery, deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. I like this card. I like this card a lot, actually. Just for 1 red, you get to do this. This is really nice. Unfortunately, it's not an instant speed thing. But being able to just on all the stuff, there is a card. And of course, I should have looked it up right now. It's either called Pestilence Spirit or Spirit of Malice. It is a creature in black that makes your spells have hexproof. Makes your instant sorceries, whatever, have, not hexproof, have death touch. And the fact that this only costs 1 means you play the card, I think it like costs 4. And then you just play this, and it's a board wipe for your opponent's creatures. And you have a dude that's left over. It's not the most efficient thing. If you're running black and red, there's probably other ways to kill your opponent's creatures too. But there's not all that many board wipes in black and red. There's Ritual of Soot, but do you really want to use that? It kills all the things. Cry the Carnarium can kill your things too. And you can just use Blazing Volley if you want to against little dudes. So I think that is good. I think this is good. In limited, it's like a 1 out of 5 though, because how often do you only have 1 thing left and you're using 1 mana to deal 1 damage and it feels really bad? In standard, in the correct deck, I feel like it's maybe a 2 out of 5, in the sense that it might also see some sideboard play. But that's about it. So yeah, moving on. Alright, I'm going to try to go a little faster because I'm tired, and I got this to go through, and then another color, and then there's more colors, but I'm going to do those tomorrow, which is actually later today. That's how time works right now. It is irrelevant. Blister Spit Gremlin. Alright, 1 mana, 1/1. Costs 1 red. You can pay 1 and tap it, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap Blister Spit Gremlin. There are better versions of this card. Notably, this will see 0 standard play, but I still kind of like it a little bit. It's a silly little 1 mana 1/1. If you have a decent amount of mutate cards in your limited pool, then this is a good thing just to try to get down early to mutate on top of, to get more of a stat boost, really, to get a foothold and get those mutate effects going off. So that's the only reason I'd see you playing this card. Otherwise, I don't think it's really that worth it. I don't think you're gonna make that much effect off its effect. Not gonna think it's gonna be all that useful. Yeah, but if things come to a stalemate, I can just keep turning it sideways and dealing 1 damage. Okay. If your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with a 1/1 creature, then you're good. I think you're okay. I think you'll be just fine. Alright. Blitz of the Thunder Raptor. 1 and a red for an instant speed. Long neck. Sorry, just that neck is long and veiny. You know what else is long and veiny? My arms, usually. I got decent length arms. Blitz of the Thunder Raptor deals damage to target creature or planeswalker equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. I do like this card. We have a card called, what's it called? Like Storm's Wrath? Not Storm's Wrath. Something Beacon. But there's, or Conduit. Doesn't really matter. It's in blue and red, and it does the same kind of thing. It's a sorcery speed card, but it has Jumpstart. And the reason that card saw a little bit of play, just a little bit, is because it had Jumpstart. You can play it twice. So is this better than that, in the sense that that is an instant, and it can exile things? That is nice, but I don't think that's enough to push it over the edge. Therefore, 0 out of 5 in constructed, 1 out of 5 limited if you have enough instant or sorceries. But if you do, where are all your creatures in this set made of big giant creatures? So maybe reconsider that. I don't think there's enough instants and sorceries in the set to really just make a deck focused around them. Although there's a few pretty nice ones, pretty spicy ones when we get to the gold cards. Oh yes, the gold standard is approaching. But yeah, 1 out of 5 limited and 0 out of 5 standard. And here we go. If you were staying tuned, you know that I might have mentioned something about Banana Dino. Well, this is Bananasaur in the fleshy banana flesh. Yes, Cathartic Reunion, also a reprint. And instead of Chandra and Pia, her mom, it's Bananasaur and friend. And well, we're gonna name this guy Pete. I think this is Pete and Bananasaur. Here you go. Well done, Pete. Anyway. For 1 on a red, and you have to discard 2 cards. As cost, you draw 3 cards. If this gets countered, you feel so bad. Because you just 3-for-1 yourself. Because this is 1 card. And then you discard 2 other cards. Unless you really want those cards in the graveyard, then, you know, go for it. But otherwise, damn, that hurt like a lot. Almost as much as this thing hurts because I don't... who gets their haircut these days? And the current state of affairs, I mean, you know, who knows? No, I think my hair is not too bad. Anyway, enough with that. There are some decks that are going to make this work. Just keep in mind, if this gets countered, you feel really bad. Which means you probably want to run this in a deck that runs blue, so you can counter their counter. Or Teamer or something. Not Teamer. Jeskai to have Teferi down there, so they can't counter you. Huzzah! Right? Problem solved. Now the question is, would they counter this? I would absolutely counter this. Hell yeah. Because I usually play control. Now keeping in mind there are fewer counters going around these days, so it's more so removal and less so counting your stuff. Largely because Teferi exists, therefore counter spells just sometimes don't work. So yeah, there's a lot of talk about Cathartic Reunion. Jeez. But yeah, I'm gonna put this as like a 1.5 out of 5 in standard. In limited, you can make this. You have to discard beforehand, which kind of hurts a lot. But I'm gonna say like a 2 out of 5 because maybe you play it later on. You have a couple lands, ditch lands, draw 3. I see 0 things wrong with that. 2.5 out of 5 even. Yes, just crank it up. Let's just crank it up a little bit. Which way is up for you? Is that way up? Is this way up? I don't know. You tell me. Alright, Clash of Titans. You pay 3 and 2 red for an instant speed. Target creature fights another target creature. Now, the very important thing to notice with this, like, oh, it's just a really expensive fight spell, really, like, why? Is neither creature has to be your creature. You can have your own creature fight your own creature if you want to. Well, there you go. You did that. Well done. You accomplished nothing. Or maybe you got something, who knows. But you can have your opponent's creature fight your opponent's creature. And hopefully you get a 2-for-1 there. So potential 5 mana instant speed 2-for-1 feels pretty good. You could also potentially do this after combat, you know, they hit something, you do a little bit of damage, then you're able to 2-for-1 them a little more easily and more efficiently. Cool. Although, yeah, you may not lose a creature. 2-for-1, 2-for-2. It's not too bad. So I do like this card quite a bit in limited. Occasionally it will just be a 1-for-1. It'll at least be a 1-for-1, so it's not bad, but in that case the weaker creature dies. So you're not doing so well, in which case is the weaker creature worth 5 mana? Ooh, probably not. So for that reason, 2 out of 5 instead of a 2.5 out of 5. I would have put it at 2.5 out of 5 if, you know, didn't have that other stipulation, that other, you know, part behind it. Standard 0. 0 out of 5. 0 out of 5 hours of sleep tonight. Woo! Alright, Cloud Piercer. 4 and a red for a 5/4. You probably saw this if you were staying in touch with any of the Magic, you know, releases at all, because it was when the first card was revealed. And they like to use this as a good example for Mutate. So, here we go. It has Reach. Whenever this creature mutates, you may discard a card if you draw a card. That is known as rummaging, by the way. So whenever you mutate, you can rummage 1. And the mutate cost is 3 and a red. So it's not terrible. It's okay. I think, well, I mean, a 5 mana 5/4, rather, with Reach is fine. In limited, this is like a 2.5 out of 5. It's actually pretty decent. In standard, I don't think you're going to be I don't think you're going to be trying to rummage all that much. There are other cards in red that just let you go through your deck faster. I don't know if you really want to have a creature on the board to do that, because it's not really the most efficient way to do it. I think that just running like Thrill of Possibility, I believe it is, or Cathartic Reunion, you know, or you know, running some blue stuff and having like, you know, Opt is a little better. So I would do that over this. I don't think the body's worth it, but like I said, limited. What is it? 2 out of 5? 2.5 out of 5? 2.5 out of 5 because reach is nice. There are a decent number of flyers in this set, and having that reach on a pretty strong body isn't bad. All right, Dranith Stinger, 1 and a red for a 2/2 human. I'm telling you, I'm not feeling humans. Just telling you, not feeling you. Whenever you cycle another card, deals 1 damage to each opponent, and cycling 1. So this is promoting a cycling deck, which I don't think is ever going to work. Will this be the new include in mono red where they have this 2-mana 2/2, and you know, you cycle stuff and you spend money to draw, to discard and draw. Spend money, spend mana to discard and draw, and then you deal 1 damage each time? No, that's not what you're doing. Therefore, yeah, 0 out of 5 and limited. No, sorry. This is an okay, like 1. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 and limited, just because it can be hard to get humans out there, and some spells really want you to have a human. So here's a human for you. In standard though, 0 out of 5. Everquill Phoenix. Oh boy, oh no, this is a really nice Phoenix too. It's like an Eagle Phoenix. You know, the other one was like an Owl Phoenix. It's like an Eagle Phoenix. And by that it was the Phoenix that died, and it was an elemental, and it made a token, and then the token sacked, and the Phoenix came back. I forget that one's called, but it was back in like Rivals of Ixalan, I think, or in that area. And damn, it was a nice Phoenix. Anywho, 2 and 2 red for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather. Not the Boros Feather. With pay 1, sacrifice Feather, return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nowhere on any of this doesn't have haste. Just keep that in mind. So it's not as aggressive. It's more of like a stick-to-it kind of thing. Also, it's worth noting the mutate cost is the same converted mana cost. It just takes one of the red things and makes you generic mana. So the mutate and the other and the other thing are basically the same. Also worth noting here is that you can just make multiple feathers there and get by multiple phoenixes. This does have to target a phoenix. This isn't like I just mutate it to something that it dies, I bring back whatever, because it changes the name. No, this is targeting specifically phoenix type creatures. But I do like this effect quite a bit. I think it's very, very nice and a sticky card. There are a decent number of exile effects which will not help you, and which will, you know, remove this card entirely. And you do have to mutate it in order for it to actually get its effect to go off. So I think the idea is like you play it for the mutate cost, you get the feather thing there, they die. When the stack collapses, then you go ahead and get the Phoenix out of the graveyard. That's my take on it. So, limited though, I mean, hell yeah. As long as you have like some of the things to mutate with, absolutely. This is like a 3.5 out of 5. Big ol' flyer guy, absolutely, yeah, totally. And then in standard, I'm gonna say like a 2 out of 5. I think it's gonna see some play. I think it's gonna be up there a little bit. Maybe not all the way up there, but it's gonna be around there. It's gonna linger. You might see it in a list or two and be like, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. That makes sense. And you know what else makes sense? Spoiler alert, alternate artwork incoming. There it is. Hello. Apparently this makes sense too. I wasn't really all that, like I do love what they've done with this thing, but I am not super well versed in Godzilla. So apparently this is flavorful because it's made up of different things, and then a little bit comes back and it lives, and then Cell and Wolverine. Okay. And Ferocious Tigerilla. 3 and a red for a 4/3 cat ape. Ferocious Tigerilla enters the battlefield with your choice of a trample counter or a menace counter on it. So that isn't bad. Standard 0 playability, 0 out of 5. In limited, I'm not really sure what you're going to want to do more often. But I feel like menace is just better for its survivability. So maybe that. I also love the fact that it just has this tiger striped tail. I think that is really cool. But in standard, I'm gonna give it like a 1.5 out of 5. 4/3s don't actually stick around as long as I might like them to. Although menace can can maybe help, but it doesn't usually reach the desired outcome in my experience. But you know, if you can pilot it better, then go 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5 for you. I don't know, but I'm saying 1.5. Fire Prophecy. Okay. There's an idea I have with this card. With a card you're gonna see further up. So there's a little ways to come. But okay, let's just talk about this card. Fire Prophecy, 1 and a red, instant speed, deals 3 damage to target creature. You may put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library if you do draw a card. So, take this at face value. 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a creature is bad, right? It's not horrible, just 2 mana, 3 damage. Okay, that's Lightning Strike. There's Lightning Bolt. It's Lightning Strike. Perfectly reasonable card. People played that plenty of times, but only to a creature. No, you cannot target planeswalkers. You cannot target the face, which makes it very, very narrow. You might not even have a target for it, unless you have your own creatures you're targeting. Why would you even do that? What's the point of doing all these things? Because, my friends, the Planeswalker coming up makes me really like this card. I'm not going to explain exactly what I want to do with it yet. I'm going to tell you when I get to the Planeswalker, which is going to be in the video, so, you know, hang out. In Limited, I think this card is like a 2.5 out of 5, just because you kill a creature, hopefully, you put a nonsense card at the bottom, you draw a card. Yeah, absolutely. In Standard, 4 out of 5. Okay, and the reason I'm saying that is because this thing we're going to see later on. I will go back to this and explain it to you, but I want to say that shock factor, that whole wha-pow kind of thing, you know. So I'm gonna hold on to the wha-pow, and then when it comes back, I'm gonna unleash it without any, you know, with reckless abandon. So just watch out. You've been warned. Okay. All right. Flame Spill. 2 and a red, instant speed. Flame Spill deals 4 damage to target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. 3 mana spell happens to have trample, basically. It's okay. 3 mana, deal 4, not great. The excess damage usually is inconsequential. Usually is largely irrelevant, because life doesn't matter unless you have 0. Because life is a resource. There you go, and triggered. But in Limited, this is fine. Dealing 4 damage with 3 mana is okay. Dealing a little more damage to their face with it, potentially, is alright. Ideally, you don't deal any more damage to their face, because you use all the 4 damage to kill the creature, because that probably means it's a higher quality of creature. But maybe you just really want to get this little, you know, they have a 1/1, it's like, oh, if I only got rid of that, and I need some more damage, and then I could punch in for lethal. Sure, I do this, I kill the 1/1, I deal 3 damage, then I can swing in, and yeah, easy game. So maybe that's going to happen. I'm sure that's the truth is going to happen once or twice. In Standard, 0 playability. No, don't see it. But in Limited, yeah, I would see it as a 2 out of 5. I like this. Footfall Crater. 1 red for an aura. You enchant a land with it, in fact. The enchanted land has tap. Target creature gains trample and haste until end of turn. Cycling 1. Just for that first ability, it's not too bad. And then he said cycling 1, and I was like, yes, hold on, that's a card now. Now we have a card. Oh boy, so. Pardon me there. Sorry, I'm just trying to stay hydrated. You know, that's how it is. I'm bubbly. I'm bubble. That's what we do. So would you be willing to pay one more for each creature you play? Basically, every creature you control costs 1 more to cast, but it has trample and haste for the turn, you know. Yes, I think that would be fine. I think that'd be perfectly acceptable in many situations, especially when you're running a lower to the ground deck, maybe. Or maybe just big creatures. Yeah, sure, I'm gonna ramp up whatever. Okay, cool. I have 7 mana now because I ramped with Uro and Growth Spiral, and there's red mana in there too. Who knows? So now, bam, swing in there. And if you can't really get there, then cycle away. I mean, yeah. The fact that you can cycle away the additional copies, because you probably only need 1 of these. So, God, that's so good. And even after you give the thing haste, you can still give your creature trample if you need to. Because since that goes away, that's definitely worth having, like, on future turns. In Limited. Scary card. The cycling for 1 is okay. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5, because playing it just on its own isn't really a threat. and it delays your other threats, and it could not be worth it. In standard, I feel like this is 3 out of 5 as well, which is significant for standard. I feel like there's definitely going to be some playability there. A lot of things in limited are just not playable in standard, which is how they're supposed. This part of the way the formats are like designed. The set is created, so it's perfectly fine to have cards that are playable in one format and another. But yeah, 3 out of 5 in both, which is kind of surprising, kind of unusual. Forbidden Friendship with Bananasaur and Pete. Okay, 1 and a red. Create a 1/1 at sorcery speed. Red dinosaur creature token with haste and a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So people, oh my goodness, you fulfill the requirements having a human and a non-human. Oh, it's all in one card. 0 out of 5 in both formats because those cards are kind of few and far between. I don't know if their effects are really worth it to specifically have those two things going on. And 2 mana make 2 1/1s. It's okay, but it's so much worse than just having a 2 mana 2/2. It is quite a bit worse in most circumstances. I guess if you want to do like Boros aggro and charge people in there and buff everybody, you could try. I don't know if you will succeed. Okay, so yeah, 0 out of 5, both formats. Frenzied Raptor. For 2 and a red, you get a 4/2 dinosaur. And it has no effect, so flavor text incoming. Though the road through... And then I'm done because I can't read that name. Raugrin is lined with alarm crystals. Some monsters seem to be adapting. We've had raptors feigning attacks on provision caravans while others try to sneak through the lava curtain. Ooh. Interesting. Okay, that's kind of cool. 3 mana 4/2. This is going to be like a 2 out of 5 limited. It's not great. It's probably going to trade... It's probably not going to survive very long, but it's something you got there. Standard 0 out of 5, obviously. When's the last time a vanilla card saw play in standard? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Don't know the answer. But probably a while ago. Like long ago. Frill Scare Mentor. 2 and a red for a 3/2. When enter the battlefield... Oh, the Mentors. Yes, the Mentor cycle. You get a Menace counter on target non-human creature you control, and then you can buff Menace things as you go along. So Menace is a nice ability to give, and buffing Menace makes it very much more difficult to work with, to deal with from the defensive point of view. So that is very nice there. However, it climbs very, very slowly, and Menace doesn't really help you too much on the board, only if you're being aggressive. Does playing 3 mana 3/2 help your aggression? It doesn't hurt it too much. So for that reason, I'm going to say 2.5 out of 5 instead of like a 3. I think that it could actually be a very, very good card, but it's just a little weak on the stat side. In limited, yeah, that's what in limited. In standard, 0. What did you think? Go for blood. 1 and a red. Target creature control by target creature you don't control. Cycling 1. So instead of the Clash of Titans where you pay 5 instant speed and you can have any 2 things fight each other, this is specifically one of mine, one of yours, go for it. This is Rabid Bite, by the way, but in red. Rabid Bite is 1 on a green, this is 1 on a red, but it has cycling. Does adding cycling and changing the color do anything? Red decks don't want this because they just want to go face. They don't really want other things in the way. Sorry, excuse me. My apologies. I may be sleepy, and by maybe I mean yes. So I don't think cycling saves it there. In limited, you could. I would give it like a 1.5 out of 5 limited. Not so great. The fact that you can cycle it is okay. But you need to have some big boys, otherwise you aren't doing anything. So you cycle it away, and then you're like, okay, well there goes 1 card. I guess that's fine. Heightened Reflexes. 1. I didn't figure out what the card I was going to talk to you about. Trust me. 1 red. Instant speed. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Put a first strike counter on it. We've seen effects like this before, where creatures gets first strike, but it's usually just for a turn, just on the turn. The fact that it sticks around means I actually really do like this card. In limited, 2.5 out of 5, maybe even 3. Standard 0. But the fact that the first strike sticks there, it isn't just a cheeky little combat trick. It's a combat trick with panache. Means I like it. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. Lava Serpent. 5 and a red for a 5/5 haster, and you can cycle it. You know what? Limited. I feel like this is a 2.5 out of 5. For 6 mana, there might be some bigger creature out there, so haste does nothing for you. But you can cycle it then if you want to, or you just play a 5/5 and be like, guess what? I got a big guy now. What are you gonna do? You gonna attack me? You gonna attack and do my big guy? No? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna attack you and do your big guy? Probably not. So we got 2 big guys. What are we doing? We're just 2 big guys. Okay. That's my interpretation of how just any match goes in Magic, by the way. There it is. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So let me read the effects. Then I'll explain while I'm excited. For the record, 5 out of 5. Okay. 5 out of 5. Now what is it? Is it 5 out of 5 in limited as well? Because yeah, I just had 5 out of 5 in standard. Deal with it. Bam. Anyway, in limited, I will say 4 out of 5. You need to be able to have a creature on the board first. Otherwise, it doesn't protect itself at all, and it's dangerous. But yeah, in limited, 4 to 5, constructed, standard, the whole 5 out of 5. I love this thing. Okay, so for 5 mana, you get a starting loyalty of 5 for Luca, Coppercoat Outcast. The +1. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Creature cards, exiled this way, you may cast this card from exile as long as you control a Luca Planeswalker. Okay, so you have to control this thing. It's not Thief of Sanity where the effect just kind of lingers. You need to keep this guy on the board, or you can play another one after this one dies, whatever. But, you know, that's a pretty big mana investment. Notably, the +1 does not protect you unless you have the mana to play a creature as well. So either you wait until, like, you know, you have, geez, at least 8 mana, or you make a combo deck. -2. Exile a target creature you control, then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with higher converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Pardon me, I'm just yawning, and my eyelids want to do this, but my eyes actually. Okay. Anyway, it's like, I know that just seems kind of insane. I'm tired. I think after this one, I'm gonna call it. So let's get through this one. Let's just go over the -7 as well. The ultimate ability, if you will. Just like, okay. Each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So, you know, you just total the power and stuff. And it's like, and all my opponents take, I don't know, ideally 20, 15, whatever damage. Ideally, you kill them with a -7. Otherwise, what are you doing with your life? But that -2 ability, let me tell you a little story. Back when I first really wanted to get into competitive Magic, unfortunately, I never really did. At least never really did in paper. I'm working on it in Arena. The deck that I wanted to make that I thought was competitive viable, that could get there, was a mass polymorph deck around the time of, it was first called Call Go. It was then called Call Blade because it was Squadron Hawks and swords. Sword of Body and Mind, Sword of Feast and Famine. I don't know if Sword of War and Peace ever made it in there, but that was what it was. I mean, Batterskull sometimes, Stoneforge Mystic, Jason the Mind Sculptor. Oh. But my idea was, instead of just, you know, controlling the board from there and having Jace whatever, and then you have the swords and the birds and the Celestial Colin. I'm really sorry, but I'm sleepy. I'm gonna do it. I can do it. Psych myself up. Talking about gold times and Celestial Colonnade punching through. I wanted to mass polymorph. Look it up. You exile all the creatures on your side of the battlefield, and you reveal cards from the top of your library until you hit that many creatures. You put them into the battlefield. That was it. So Squadron Hawk, you get 1, you get 4 of them. And if you ever drew one, like a big creature, you had a See Beyond to shuffle it back in, and you could use Jace to draw 3 and then put 2 back on the top of your library, and then you mass polymorph, and you run into 2 Blightsteel Colossi and 1 Emrakul, and your opponent goes, okay. So indestructible and protection from spells and yeah, and 15 annihilator what and infect and trample. Okay, well that's and okay, good game. Except they don't shake your hand because you're a filthy individual. That was me. So That was story time. Story time with Bubble. So this reminds me of this. I believe I'm going to make this deck, first off. I just hope it works. There can be a deck. I just have to find the biggest, baddest creatures with the best, like, either enter the battlefield ability or just something that makes it hugely impactful. Meteor Golem. Blow up anything you want. You can either make a deck with a whole bunch of tokens or with pretty much all the same mana cost except for a few huge guys. Except for a few really, really thick boys, right? And you use the -2 ability on one of your usual creatures or a token thing, and then it goes through your deck and you guaranteed get one, or, you know, get your guy that you want to, or one of, like, you know, a few guys that you could hit that are all good. I think that ability is amazing, and that is why, if I go back a little ways, I really like Fire Prophecy, because in the case, there aren't too many cards that let you do this right now. Notably Cavalier of Gales, if it dies as a creature, so it's the issue of you're running a creature in this deck that doesn't really want you to run a creature. That doesn't want you to run incidental creatures. It lets you take whatever creature that you're trying to get. If you draw it by accident, you can put it back in your library. That's it. That's why I like this card. That's why I think it has potential. Also, you draw a card. Like, it's card draw. You get to put back something you probably don't even want to draw in the first place, and you might remove a creature. That's why I'm so in love with that card, and therefore 5 out of 5 for this guy. And the other one got, what is it, like 4 out of 5? I think it's a 4 out of 5. That's my idea. That's my goal. Feel free to follow me on Twitch and see if I ever get there. Okay. Oh boy. But that's the hell I'm gonna die on. Okay. Momentum Rumbler. 3 and a red. Well, should I talk about this thing? I should talk about this guy outside of that combo. Outside of that, it's still a very, very strong card. You do need to have a creature on the board when you do it, like I said, because the +1 does not protect it at all. But even just running a regular deck, not any sort of gimmicky combo kind of deck, just running a regular deck and just, you know, Growth Pod? Is that what it's called? Malira Pod? What was the pod named? Incubation Pod? I don't know. Even just buffing up your creature, or, you know, just, you know, upgrading your creature basically to a stronger one, is a good effect. You can attack and then do that ability, and then attack, then do it again. Just keep going up on the converted mana cost scale. Nothing wrong with that. Everything else goes back to your library too, so you're not going to deck out or anything. Really, really strong effect there. Just watch out, because there are a lot of board wipes that happen on 4 mana. This guy costs 5, so make sure you have something there. Either something you can just bring in at a moment's notice, you know, some kind of flash creature, some kind of artifact you might be able to turn into a creature, or something you can recur from the graveyard. Okay. Momentum Rumbler. When it attacks, it's a 4 mana 3/3. If it doesn't have first strike, put a first strike counter on it. So basically, it's a 3 mana. So it's a 3/3 first strike after it attacks once. Whenever it attacks, if it has first strike, it gains double strike until end of turn. I like how they broke it up into 2 different things. So it's it's funny. You could put this easily all in one line, but it'd be a little more confusing. Because they both happen on the attack. So the way this works, for anyone that might be a little confused, is you play it. It's a 4 mana 3/3. That's all it is. If your opponent attacks and you block with it, it's a 3/3. Once you attack, when you declare the attack, you put a first strike counter on it. Now it's a 3/3 first strike once you attack. Cool. On the following turn, if you attack, it doesn't have a double strike counter, but it just gains double strike for the turn. So this is a really, really nice, like, kind of thing they threw in there. I'm gonna put this at like a 2.5 out of 5 for limited, just because it is a 4 mana 3/3, so it's a little iffy there. First strike is good, but 3 is, there's gonna be a few things that are like 3 or 4, so you can probably take out about like half the things that might be in your way. Double strike is also really nice just for pushing damage. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5. Standard 0. 0 out of 5. Hey, look at this card. Look familiar? It should, because it's that card. It's the one that's been keeping things hot. Alright, Mythos of Vadrok. 2 and 2 red. Deals 5 damage For sorcery speed, but this is a bad track, deals 5 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and/or planeswalkers. If blue and white was spent to cast this spell until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. Now, when I first saw that, I was like, wow, this is great. For 4 mana, you can just ping 5 different things, planeswalkers turn off, they can't block, next turn, swing in and win the game, right? There's a card called Cosmotronic Wave that basically did the same thing. For 4 mana, I believe, dealt 1 damage to all creatures, I think without flying, all enemy creatures without flying, or maybe with flying too, who knows? And they couldn't block for that turn. So that card saw 0 play. Therefore, I want to say now, for an even stricter mana cost, that costs 3 and a red. This would cost, for the whole effect, blue, white, red, red. Very, very, very specific mana. You're paying more to basically do less. I don't like that at all. What if you just do it for the 2 and the 2 red? Do 5 damage for 4 mana. We get to split it up how you want to, but I'm not feeling it. Like, run Shock, run Bonecrusher Giant. I feel like those should be enough. This is at its best when you get to like pick off a bunch of little dudes, and if there's a bunch of little dudes, you can run Flame Sweep, or you can run the black thing that has you do other things that -1/-1. Like, this card, oh god, I feel like the payoff just isn't there. It's okay in limited. I'll give it like a 2 out of 5, just because dealing 5 damage is probably just going to be dealing 2 to one thing and 3 to another thing, and you're good. You probably aren't going to be running the blue and the white. Maybe you are. Maybe you're running a whole wedge, and, you know, just guys your thing. And if you are, but more power to you. You know what? You got it, and hopefully you win the next turn. Otherwise, you just get some cheeky damage in there. In constructed though, I'm gonna say maybe 1 out of 5. I feel like a lot of people are gonna try to make these cards work, but like, I don't like it. I actually feel it's like a 0 out of 5. 0 out of 5 constructed. There you go. I'm saying it. Love the artwork. That's about it though. Sorry. Pork you parrot. Love the artwork. Alright. So 3 in a red for a 3/4 bird beast. And has tap, and this creature deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. Will this ever be worth more than just like the 3/4 that it is already? Because when you consider that, you're giving up 3/4 worth of stats to eventually just block and then turn it sideways and deal some damage. Which, don't get me wrong, I love those decks. The whole Tim thing was my favorite. Prodigal Pyromancer, Prodigal Sorcerer, Gelectrode was my jam. Back when I first got into Magic, I was like, yeah, these cards are amazing. And you just leave them back, and then, okay, end of your turn, ping, kill your creature, sure, kill your face. Awesome. So I love that, but that's because they cost 2 and 3 in replayability and stuff. This thing costs 4 on a 3/4 body. At least with the little guys, you had no incentive to attack because they were 1/1s. Or in the case of Gelectrode, 0/1. This is a 3/4. You want to attack with this thing. You get more value out of just playing a bigger creature. Therefore, in limited, I will give it a 1.5. I'll give it a 2 out of 5, you know what? Because at least if you mutate this one time into something, it gives you a little bit of a clock. And a 3/4 body isn't horrible. Especially you play it for 3. Okay, sure. In standard, 0 out of 5. Ooh, prickly marmoset. Look at that. We like our prickly things. Look at that. Okay. 2 and a red for a 2/3. First striker. That's already like a 2 out of 5 in limited. Whenever you cycle a card, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And obviously, let me remind you, cycling is at instant speed. So limited is gonna take this up to like if you have enough cycles, 3 out of 5 easily. If not, then 2.5 out of 5, just for the fact that your opponent can be terrified of it, because buffing a first striker is terrifying. That's why Embercleave is so scary, also because it's a double strike and you just do a bunch of damage through. But when you think you're going to trade, you don't even do that anymore. Not only do you not trade, you die. So this is not on the same caliber as Embercleave, don't get me wrong, but Cycling usually only costs 1 or 2. You could probably buff it twice in a turn, and it still refills your hand. I like it. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 limited and a 0 out of 5 standard. Yes. Pyroceratops. Oh, I like that name. That's actually a really nice name. Very, very simple name. Makes sense, but I like it. 3 and a red for a 2/3 trample. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put some counter on Pyroceratops. There was another one, some kind of weird, like it was named weird, like Flame Coil Weird or something from War of the Spark that had a very similar effect. And that, I underestimated that thing, and that could just get out of control. So for that reason, this card is a 3 out of 5 as well in limited, because you just start playing non-creature spells, all of a sudden it's a 2/3 with trample. Okay, it's a 3/4, 4/5, 5/6. Oh damn, now I can't deal with this because I didn't deal with it earlier. You have a narrow window, as long as, you know, your opponent probably has a deck geared towards it, to deal with that. If you don't deal with it, then you almost may as well scoop. That's just how it is. In standard, 0 out of 5, but in limited, do not mess with this card. Like, play this card if you have it, but don't underestimate it, is what I'm trying to say. Raking Claws, 1 and a red. Instant speed, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Cycling 2. So this is nice. Getting double strike is a very, very strong thing. It doesn't give it trample though, but double strike is very, very good. So in limited, largely this is going to help you trade up. You are going to lose your creature most of the time though. I guess somewhat in the ideal situation, because you have like a 2/2 blocks a 4/4, and you do this, so you manage to go upward, so it's basically just deal an extra 2 points of damage, but it also has the ability to just, you know, if you have a 2/2 and your opponent has a 2/2 and you just kill it, that's it. If your creature already has trample, that is magnifique. So in that sense, 2 out of 5. This is a pretty nice little combat trick there, and cycling of 2 makes it, that only puts it over that 1.5 like margin, or yeah, I like it. And standard, 0 out of 5, but in limited, 2 out of 5. Reptilian Reflection, because this is normal. Okay, I know we're talking about all these Lair Behemoths and all these crazy mutations, but I'm going to mutate into a crystal. I'm a rock. Anyway, they're minerals, Diane. So 2 and a red for an enchantment. Not too expensive, okay. Whenever you cycle a card, you may have this become a 5/4 dinosaur creature with trample and haste. It has to have haste, otherwise it would never be able to act, basically. In addition to its other types until end of turn. I like this. If you have at least like 5 or 6 cards that have cycling, you might be able to make this work. The fact that it has trample actually makes it worth it. If it just became a 5/4 with haste, then I wouldn't even bother. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Sometimes you have something you need a chump block. Whatever. But because it has haste and it's just a 5/4, cool. Keep in mind that it's turn 3, do nothing, but then turn 4, potentially smack for 4 or 5 damage, and maybe playing with a creature and just some other stuff. Just, I like this card. In standard, it's useless, but in limited, yeah, I think it's going to be like a, I'm going to say 2.5 out of 5 limited. If you have enough cycling, this card is great. Then Rooting Moloch. All right. Moloch. It's a rooting mollusk. I don't know. It looks very mollusky, doesn't it? It looks mollusky to me. All right. 4 and a red for a 4/4 lizard. When this enters the battlefield, exile target card with a cycling ability from your graveyard. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card, and this has cycling 2. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 for limited. It's okay. It's nice that you get to do this. You get to play the card until the end of your next turn. So you don't have to have a whole lot of mana, just play it all in one turn. Similar timing sort of thing to Light Up the Stage. And Explore the Wilds, I believe, is the same kind of thing. So just, you know, something to compare it to. But how many things do you have cycling that you're really going to want to play again? Maybe a few things. I don't know. They're not usually all that fantastic, because they usually underpower the card because it has cycling, because that's a very valuable keyword at times. So there is that, but being able to play another thing again is pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna give it, I think, 2 out of 5. Yeah, 2 out of 5. Standard, 0 out of 5. Rumbling Rock Slide, 3 and a red. You got a sorcery here, deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. Land. There are a few creatures, in particular there's one in white, which I haven't gone over yet, that could potentially like OTK with this, but it reminds me of the red thing where whatever how much damage it takes, you deal that to your opponent's face. Then you use that with like Star of Extinction and deal 20 damage to it. It's some nonsense. Ah, my goodness. So oftentimes it's just gonna be 4 mana deal, like, you know, 4 mana deal 4 turn 4. Standard 0 playability, except for like a few little meme decks that are gonna have fun with it. Yeah, that's fine, have fun with it. This is definitely a meme card. In limited, I would rather run some other removal, but if this is all you have, if you really don't have any good black removal and no other good red removal, sure, you can run maybe one of these. I wouldn't really want to run 2, because you can't even do it before you get to 4 mana. And then 4 mana deal 4 is just bad on rate. So yeah, I'm gonna give this like a 1.5 out of 5. Not really as bad as a 1, because it is removal, so you gotta give it something. Sanctuary Smasher. 4 and 2 red for a 6/4 with first strike. Oh, actually, it's pretty good. That's like 2.5 status. When you cycle it, put a first strike counter on target creature you control. Yeah, hell yeah, I like this card. 3 out of 5. Oh my god, 3.5 out of 5. Big first strike people don't really have to worry too much about their toughness, because they're just punching you before you get to hit them. You don't touch them at all. They just go punch and then that's it. So as long as they punch harder than you can punch, you're good. Yeah, hell yeah, this card's really nice and limited. Standard, no, not at all, but limited, yeah. Like this guy, look at him. It's gonna smash and it's gonna cut some things up. It's gonna cut you up so bad you wish you didn't cut you up so bad. Oh. Shredded Sails, 1 and a red for an instant speed, choose one. Destroy target artifact, or deal 4 damage to target creature with flying, or cycle. I'm kidding, not cycling, you can always cycle. So destroy an artifact or shoot a flying creature. Not gonna lie, I don't think this is going to be relevant in any case at all. Even though you have cycling, maybe in limited, it could be like a 0.5 in case like there's a lot of flyers going around. And certainly like sideboard it, and if your opponent happens to have a decent amount of things in the air, throw it in there. I don't even think I would mainboard this card. If you had any removal, if you have no removal, maybe throw it in there, but it feels bad. Standard 0 out of 5, limited like 0.5 out of 5. Saying something is a limited sideboard card means it's really, really bad. Alright, Spell Eater Wolverine. 2 and a red for a 3/2. And Spell Eater Wolverine has double strike as long as there are 3 or more instant and/or sorcery cards in your graveyard, which might be more difficult than you would think, especially in the limited sense, which is the only kind of format this card is any good. Standard 0 out of 5, limited. Double strike on a 3/2. Is it good if it has double strike as a 3/2? It's not bad. But as soon as your opponent has anything with 4, it trades with it. So I'm gonna say this card's a trap. I'm gonna say this card is a trap. Do not run this card unless you have like at least. See, the more instant sorceries you run, the less creatures you run, which is kind of bad. So don't do it. Don't do it. I don't like this card. 0 out of 5. Ugh, yeah, feels good. Decision making. Tentative Connection. 3 and a red. Sorcery. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you control a creature with menace. That's a hell of a deduction. It can just cost 1. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. Unfortunately, even with that deduction, I feel like this card is useless. For the record, 0 out of 5, both formats, because active trees and effects are usually never good. They don't do much, except for Claim the Firstborn, in the case where you take it and then you sack it, and that is only in constructed, and I don't think you're going to want to potentially pay 4 times the cost, because I don't think Rakdos Sacrifice runs any menace creatures normally, so I don't think they're going to add anything to it. You're not going to pay 4 times the cost just to be able to get a creature that's a little bit stronger from your opponent's side of the board. You're just going to do what you need to do. So yeah, 0 out of 5. limited, and constructed. And moving on. Unpredictable Cyclone. Oh god, there's more. I want to sleep. 3 and 2 red. For an enchantment. That is cycling 2, by the way. If a cycling ability of another non-land card would cause you to draw a card, instead, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a card that shares a card type with the cycled card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then, put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, the way this works, you have this out there on 5 mana. Let's say you cycle a creature that has... Let's say you cycle this thing, okay? You then exile cards at the top of your library until you hit another instant. And you play it for free. So if you cycle this and suddenly you run into not command, sure, command, or whatever. Casualties of War, which you would never do in limited, but say you run into Casualties of War. You get to play that for essentially 2 mana. Except Casualties of War is a sorcery. So let's think about instant speed things. I don't know, and you cycle this thing and you hit a big old pile of something. Not command. Oh my goodness, why can't I think of a big instant? Big instant. No, not expansion explosion, you dumb thing. Okay, whatever. You get the idea. If you go through that and you run into let's see, notably it's anything. So if you run into like an opt, then you hit opt. If you run into a growth spiral, sure. Notably you're probably going to be cycling creatures to play hopefully a bigger creature, but the tricky thing is that it's the same type, so you're already running those cards, so the chance of you running into the same card again is a little unfortunate, and it does replace your draw. So it's like, I cycled this card because I didn't want it, and now I'm getting it anyway. So you can run into that sort of situation, unless you're doing some weird singleton deck, which who the hell knows? Maybe you are. Maybe you are. I don't know, you can cycle the thing and get in like a shooty thing. I don't know, lightning strike. Lightning bolt, lightning bolt. So as far as this goes, I believe in limited 0 out of 5. I don't think you can really make this work. It's very, very much a card you want to build around. In constructed, I'm also going to put it at a 0 out of 5 because I don't... There are going to be times there's a blowout when you cycle a little creature and you get something huge. And there's going to be times when you get like the opposite to happen. Or you just cycle a little creature and you run into the same thing, like further down the road. It has... like a self-defeating thing, which is good to make it not overpowered, but also 5 mana, there are plenty of ways to kill enchantments right now, so in a standard, big enchantment might not make it. Alright, weaponize, okay, we're almost there, okay, we're almost there. Weaponize the monsters, 1 mana, 1 red, for an enchantment. Pay 2, sack a creature, weaponize the monsters, deal 2 damage to any target. Very much worth noting that it is weaponize the monsters dealing the damage, not the creature you're sacrificing. So if the creature had death touch, it doesn't matter. The thing that you're shooting might not be dead. It doesn't get a death touch immediately killed sort of thing. Which reminds me of Barrage of Expendables, which is like the little baby version of this card. This is in limited, I'll give it like a 1 out of 5. Maybe you use this to close out a game if you have some sort of replayability, if you have the little beetle thingy that can come back to your hand for 5 mana. Oh god, so expensive. But otherwise, don't bother. Don't just start throwing your creatures away. You're like, I gotta kill this. Sure. And now you have no creatures and you killed their one big guy. Maybe you survive for another turn or 2, but then you're dead. If you can win the game though, it only costs 1 mana. You could probably win it on the spot. Play it. And, for every mana you have, it's basically 1 point of damage. So 2, 4, 6 damage. Bam, go, as long as you have the creatures. In standard, it's probably going to be some kind of funny replay creatures a million times and do it, but no, it's not worth it. 0 out of 5. And Yadaro, I believe, is the last card for red. Costs 5 and 2 red for this legendary dinosaur turtle. I actually really like him. Yuguai's been working out, I'm just saying. It's an 8/8 trample haste. Oh my god. 7 mana for an 8/8 trample haste. Well, ain't that something? In limited, this is a 4 out of 5. For that. Cycling. Cool. I'm going to keep it a 4 out of 5 because that's already pretty high there. Pretty cheap cycle cost there. I like how they don't actually have the cycle, like, you know, flavor text. Yeah, like rules text on it. It's just like, you know what it is now, don't you? But then, here's where it gets you. Here's where it gets you. When you cycle Yidaro, Wandering Monster, shuffle it into your library from your graveyard. If you've cycled a card named Yidaro Wandering Monster 4 or more times this game, 4 to 5. A coincidence? Yes. Put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard instead. This is a rare, also. If you manage to get like a couple of these, oh my god, it's so nice. You pretty much always cycle it. As soon as you can, even. In Standard, I feel like this card can similarly be a 4, maybe even like a 4.5 out of 5. Do I want to say 5 out of 5? I don't, because I think it'll come down at the same time you hit 7 mana, but you're paying 2 mana to play this. And once you do it 4 times, they just come into play. You can run multiples of these. Imagine a Standard deck where you run 4 of these, you cycle it, sure, 4 times, you get one, cycle. Cool, it's out there. Oh, you kill it. Okay, I'm going to cycle another one, and it just comes out again. There's definitely a payoff for running multiples of these, which is surprising for legendary creatures. In limited, if you get more of these, you open them. Like, definitely, you run it. I'm like 4.5 out of 5 here. This card is so good. And you know what else makes it good? Spoiler alert, kind of. This makes it so good. Oh my god, this guy is gonna be munching at your face. Munch. Alrighty, and are we there? There we go, thank goodness. My friends, I gotta call it right here for a little while. Of course, this is going on YouTube, so it's not like you're like, yeah, I know exactly how long the video is, because I don't. So, thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please let me know. If you feel strongly about something, if you agree, disagree, whatever, go ahead, join the conversation. Down in the comments below, join my Discord. I also like to stream on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming a good amount with these new cards coming out because I'm excited for monsters. But yeah, feel free to check it out, and I hope you liked it. Until next time, good night or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. But as always, good luck. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep.